You're listening to the AZREIA Show. If you're looking for quality real estate investing information that you can trust, you've found it. Stay tuned and join the tens of thousands of members that have already benefited from AZREIA, your home for education, market information, support, and networking opportunities that will advance your real estate investing career.
Hello and welcome to the AZREIA Show. This is your weekly dose of real talk, real deals, and real estate success here in Arizona. Today's episode, we have Steven Crellin, who's 20 plus years being a certified appraiser right here in the Valley, and you'll go even into the low-key places. So
I love this. That's my whole thing. I appreciate the invite. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
Yeah, so he's the CEO of Yawkey Appraisals.
Yep.
So, Steven, man, tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you decide to go into being an appraiser?
Cliff Notes version, because it's real dull, is I was in the military. I was a rescue swimmer and then a public affairs specialist in the Coast Guard. And towards the end of my time, I realized I didn't want to do that forever. It's kind of weird because you don't have the option to leave. You know, it was like I was in a real bad situation with my commanding officer and all this other stuff. And I'm like, man, I never want to do this again. So when my 8 years was up, I was out. And the second that I was over, I ended on a Friday and I started appraising on a Monday. I had done my research and looked it up. And at the time I got out in 2004 and all you saw in the news was there's not enough appraisers. There's a boom coming and all this other stuff. So they were taking trainees in Phoenix and I moved from San Diego to Phoenix. I'm naturally from Boston, but I've lived literally everywhere and started working. And since then I haven't stopped. It's just been appraisal since day one. And currently I'm licensed in 6 states. I was a vice president, a major lender. And now I work kind of for myself and I do a lot of classes, which is how I got to meet you guys in the first place. I teach a lot about the appraisal stuff that people don't understand. I love realtors. I'm a realtor as well. And a lot of the stuff that people don't understand, I like to filter out. So a lot of appraisers don't like what I say because it's true, but it's also something that has to be known, especially if you're a realtor and you need to get things done today. Today is a weird market. Your last couple of shows covered that really well. I'm a big fan of your Halloween episode. How weird is it? I'm coming on, though, 2 episodes ago, you had a neuroscientist, and then you had an appraiser and an inspector. The IQ level dropped down significantly when you took me on, but I appreciate it.
And I'll also say, you know, that Northeast Coast vibe, too, right? Because Connecticut, Boston.
Connecticut, right on. Yeah, Boston guy, yep,
yeah.
absolutely. That's the name of my company, Yawkey Appraisals. That's the street that Fenway Park is located on. They changed the name of the street a few years ago. But it's always been Yawkey Way, so that's the name of my company.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. I'm a fan. You know, in Connecticut is either New York or Boston.
There's a line in that sand, and you have to make that decision as an early age.
And I might lose some members here. I couldn't go to the Yankees, dude.
I love that.
Yeah,
Yankees. So
see it balances out. Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
Well, so it is what it is. I'm a Yankee fan when they're in the playoffs, beat anybody else. So that's my opinion. But I love everybody.
Love it.
Okay.
So 2004 Arizona appraiser.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you got in all excited and making some big money.
I wasn't excited about big money.
There.
I was very excited about making more than what I was making in the military. And then I was like, this is exciting because the thing that I like the most about this is different scenarios every single time. It's hard to kind of explain. If you start doing the routine, if you did Pulte or Lennar just every day, you would be really mundane because everything is the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
What you guys talked about on your Halloween episode, which I'm a big fan of, I'm going to try not to quote it the entire time, is exactly why I kind of like doing what I'm doing, is it's a crapshoot. You could show up in a house and see this immaculate property. You could see the one that's in garbage condition, but they fluffed up to make it look like it's immaculate. Or you get the ones like what you were saying, which is just a disaster. And it's always fun. It's changing the game all the time. I kind of like that.
And you're like meaning like 2004, 2005.
Then you hit this funny mark where you start with this boom where everything was up 10% every day.
Yeah.
And then there's that really fun day. I don't know if you guys know this, 2008, where the floor just dropped out and no one is buying anything.
So you saw it twice.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it. Yeah.
So going then, so for people that don't know, during the Great Recession, just tell us about the landscape of like how busy it was, how the appraisers were always coming in, and then after that, it got pretty ugly for you guys.
To be honest, the appraisal world was good at the beginning of the boom. It was good while it was plummeting. Then it hit a bottom
Okay.
that just seemed like it was going to destroy the industry. And one of the things with appraisers, we always say our industry is going to end. It's been a thing since the 70s. I'm saying it right now because of the new thing they're changing. But at that point in time, it seemed legit. When things were going up, everyone was refinancing and buying.
Yeah.
When it was going down, the banks needed desktop appraisals, drive-bys, and quick valuations because they needed to know what their portfolios were losing. So I was busy as hell. I was going out there doing the same house 3 and 4 times. This is the weird thing, and I won't throw my old lender under the bus. I'll keep the name secretly, but they're a national big lender. Their commercials are during the Super Bowl, that kind of thing.
Okay.
If you stop making your loan payment during the recession, they would have me come out and do a level 1 appraisal. Then 30 days later, they would want a level 2 because they knew values were going down. They wanted to know what they were going to lose. So I was busy.
Wow.
When it hit that bottom and short sales kind of stopped happening, that's when we hit our bare bottom. I mean, people were leaving our industry like they were being paid to do so because there was just no work. No one was caring about what the bottom floor was because they'd already hit it. No one was interested. There was just nothing happening. Today, it's kind of not quite the same thing because I'm still getting refis and purchases. It's way more. I think you said on the last one, depending on your market, it's either stable or a buyer's market. And that's still relatively decent. But the appraisal industry is shifting in a really bizarre way that I don't want to put on my change hat because it's
How so?
starting soon. And I have a class that I'm teaching about this for realtors because this is going to impact everybody. Starting immediately, but depending on your lender, we have a new form and it's called the UAD 3.6. And what it is it is the biggest game changer in the history of appraisal since it's ever been started. And the form that we now type now is going to go away. And this new form, they're trying to make it more detail oriented. What takes me 30 minutes to do in an inspection now will take an hour. What takes you 45 minutes or an hour to type up in advance, you can't do in advance because they require you to do specifics when you get there. We just had a meeting with an Appraisal Institute instructed teacher about this class. And at the end, he did say that they think it's going to take around 18% of the industry right out. So the thing that, and I'm not just being a Debbie Downer,
Right.
because I hate this new form. I don't know a single appraiser that likes it. And if you guys ever saw what we were going to be doing, you wouldn't be a fan of it
Did you
either.
already say what the form was?
It's called the UA. Oh, I didn't. Okay.
We have a commercial coming up right now. No, just kidding.
He was leading it up.
I thought I screwed it up because I was engaged.
No.
That's hilarious.
It's my head going crazy. Okay.
Oh, damn. So this new form is going to take a lot more time. We're going to need more information up front, meaning that realtors are going to have to, by law, provide that, or else the lenders won't even take our appraisal. So it's going to add time to it. Whatever your standard appraiser does in a day is going to take 2 now. And it's not just like a tech learning thing. Of course, there's some of that to it, but just the data that they're asking us for is going to be a game changer. And it's going to raise fees just accidentally because we're doing twice as much work on the same file. Meaning that when we used to be able to do 3 in the same neighborhood, you can maybe do 1.5. You can't do that third inspection and get it done in the same time frame. So I think it's going to impact everybody in a very negative way, but Fannie Mae kind of thinks that this is the way that it's going to be. So it is.
So it's federal. So it's coming.
Yeah, it's coming from the top down.
Yeah.
Fannie and Freddie are the champions of this new 3.6 thing. The Appraisal Institute put up 0 resistance because they never do. And now we're stuck doing this form, which is going to be such a drain on everybody for at least the first year. I
What was it called again?
3.6,
3.6.
UAD
Got
3.6.
it.
The form that we type up now is called a 1004. It's your standard single family property form. That's gone. They will never be using that again. So when you usually flip to page 2 to see the grid and the
Right.
comps we use, that's like page 9 now. It's completely different. Everything is like subject like oriented. So the main room, what kind of flooring? What's the wall like? Blah, 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 blah. Page 2. What's the den like? Page 3. What's this bedroom like? Even though 99% of the homes, it's the same in every bedroom, they now want us to break it down specifically by room, by tile type, by this, which is going to be a time
And
suck.
it's not something you could be like, have my assistant do.
You can. I'm sure some
Sure.
people will, but the way
Yeah.
that the new form is meant to be filled out while you're there.
Got it.
Which is
Yeah,
right
makes
now,
sense.
everyone is losing their minds is because we have a template. I know pretty much if I'm going to
Right.
do a Lennar house or something in a Pulte development, anything built after 2004, right? Let's just say that.
Mm-hmm.
You pretty much know what's going to be going on in there, especially from looking at MLS pictures.
Right.
You can type up 90% of the report before you're done. So when you're done with the photos and the sketch and the inspection, get that off to the lender. Ooh, that is so gone. It's going to be the exact opposite. You do almost no pre-research because You can't. They don't allow you to.
What's the reason? What's the why?
They want accountability is what I keep on hearing, which we've always had that. I don't know why that's changed, but they want us to go into more detail about what's going on in the property, which is kind of what we've seen with FHA and VA and USDA on loans, but now they're making it substantially larger. The appraisal industry has fought back for now a year and they're not budging. So right now it's officially active. I haven't seen one appraiser do it because no software companies have made this, but it is going to be a game changer, and it's going to add time and money to every single process, at least for a calendar year.
Man, so venting session. So
Please.
You guys are familiar with FinCEN. They remember they're trying to see our more documents within our LLCs and everything.
LLCs, yeah.
So that got put on hold or something, but now they're trying to kick it back. Another part of it. So I'll maybe that's a whole nother podcast. But I was at a conference a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about if it does pass again, they didn't talk about us and our paperwork as entrepreneurs and owners. They were talking about the title company was saying what they're going to have to deal with. Basically, they were saying it was adding an extra hour to 2 hours to each file.
Yeah.
To be in compliance. So now where I'm going with this is the appraiser's like, okay, more hours, more time, more money now.
Well, this is
it's going to go all around to these business owners. Anyways.
Which makes me irate because the main motive of this started as, and this is just my opinion, started as reliability. Put a little more on the appraiser to get it right. I totally feel that. We need to nail these things, and with market shifting, we need to be hyper accurate as much as we possibly can be. But what it became later was Fannie Mae had tried to, during COVID, push desktop appraisals and hybrid appraisals. Have you guys seen those?
Yeah.
Okay, so as a Cliff Notes version, I teach a class on this. The difference between that is you have an inspector who is not an appraiser, or they can be an appraiser trainee. They go to the house without an appraisal license, and they take pictures and notes, and then they send it to an appraiser who, like me, would be sitting at the desk, pulling comps, doing the analysis based on a third party's point of view. Well, no appraiser like that because of a lot of different reasons. Number one, they are used to pulling their data on their own. They want to make sure that what they're putting in that report, they're owning it, and they hate leaning on someone else's data. I kind of feel that, but you have to also move with the times, right? And you have to adapt to tech changing, and AI is going to wipe us all out and yada, yada. So it started with we want more reliability. Then during COVID, it became we need to make this cheaper because now it's an affordability crisis. So they need someone, and for some reason they came to the appraiser whose standard fee is still $450 to $550, and they want to shave that down to $350 to $400. That's their entire motive, is to make it more affordable to the buyer. And I'm like, the appraisal is less than a home inspection. It is less than a well and septic inspection if you're in a rural area. Why are you coming right at us?
How about less than
dude, it's less than $100. That's what they're trying to shave off of every file.
They're trying to make you lower your prices and give you more work.
But then I'm going to ask you just what happens when you double the amount of work that we have to do? And I can only do 2 in a day instead of doing 3. Or hell, if I can only do 1 in a day, which is what it's going to be like at first. Come on, every appraiser's going to up their fees.
Yeah, up their fees.
You're asking for a 3.6 file? Sure. Instead of that $550, it's going to be $950. Who does that hit? That hits the buyer. I believe it's a really poor plan and delivered just at the worst possible time. But I guess they're just leaning in and committing. They're not changing it. So that's not a negotiation thing. It's going to be happening in January. You're going to start seeing it when you turn over files to a lender.
Wow. So what else are you seeing? What other changes are you seeing in the industry?
Changes are getting interesting. And one of the things that I like to talk about, especially with you experts, because you deal with a lot of investment stuff, is risk in non-owner occupied areas. So I have a really good example for you. And I'm going to quote numbers on one city because I have updated numbers. The city of Sedona has been a very interesting city for appraisal literally since before the recession, because that's a non-owner occupied city. Most of the people there are transient, snowbird, or now it's rental properties. Just last year, I want to say it's March, I was a board member on the Sedona Verde Valley Board of Realtors, and I was on the appraisal board, and they hired this person, and they're floating at a 51 to 53% non-owner occupancy rate. Okay. I used to work at this big lender, and this big lender had a red circle they would put on a map in theory, right? If you were over 35% non-owner occupied. That goes for apartments as well, because the risk level goes up.
Right.
You saw this in the recession when the houses started going down. Who was the first person to drop their homes and sell? investors because they have 50 of them on their
Right.
portfolios. They need to purge this money because they're not making it. So in a city like Sedona, the risk factor is seen by lenders, big lenders, as above their risk grade. One of the ones I used to work for literally stopped lending in this city altogether, and now they're slowly letting them trickle in. But Sedona's weird because if you drive through there, and I drive through there quite frequently, every other house has a sign out front. Do you know what those signs say? Like, not hotels, they're homes, right? And they are pissed. These homeowners are livid at the amount of non-owner occupancy. So one of the other things that's kind of do with your guys' thing is those areas are now really risky. So when we do our valuations, a lot of lenders ask us to do a lot of extra research on non-owner occupancy rates in the area because if values stay stable or start to go down, those high-risk areas get impacted the first. And Sedona is literally on like a national spotlight. Aspen is on there as well. And so is Big Sky, Montana.
Wow. So what are you seeing in the values in Sedona right now with all the changes?
Flat going down. There's a very weird statistic. It's not even that weird, but it's weird that you can pinpoint it to a day. And there's a day on market, and I believe it's 33. 33 days on market. You are seeing a listing. And this is good for you guys too, because if you want to buy one of these properties, here's a straight up secret that we're tracking, right? Over 33 days. And this is also in Verrado. So if you want to talk about weird areas, here's Verrado and then Sedona. At 33 days, if your property has not sold, the odds of it selling for below that original list price by 20% is huge. What that means is, and I talk with the people a lot from, I can't remember that group, Open Door. I'm really good friends with one of the realtors from Open Door, who of course doesn't even live in this state.
Right.
And they say this thing, if we go over 30 days and there's not a sale, we have to immediately reduce that list price. What do they see in the real world? Lowball offers after 33 days. If you had this house listed at $500,000 in Verrado or Sedona, and after 33 days, there's not a sale, they are flooded with investor calls or just regular people offering them like 380,
Right.
390, 400,000, just slashing that value. And then one of two things happens is they either take the listing off market or they cave and they buckle. And there's a weird separation there because you can see the investors are buckling and they're just saying, get this off of my property list. I don't need this. And the homeowners are like, screw this. We're just going to keep it. So it's a real weird thing that you have to juggle because you're seeing it statistically, that weird 33-day mark in those areas. After that mark, your values are shot. So you have to list your property correctly.
And what's funny about that is because that's what we teach, right? Is as investors, if you know areas and that property been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days, go in 20%,
dude,
at a 20% deep discount.
You have to. And you weigh it out. And that's not even a dickhead thing to do. But if someone's got something that they're trying to sell, and if it's because either the owner was too ambitious about their list price, which is almost 100% of the ones I do, all of what I do, How I Met Your Wife, is people on Facebook or Instagram, it's mostly Instagram, they reach out and they say, I have a really overzealous homeowner that refuses to go below this amount. Can you give me a desktop appraisal? I come in $100,000 lower than what they're saying, and they erupt. And one of two things happens. These people either ignore my valuation. Good, don't. I'm just a licensed professional. I'm just trying to help. I'm unbiased. I don't care if your house sells. I don't. I'm not invested. They either take my advice and lower it and sell it, or they just cave. And it's either they sell for below mine because it went over that 33-day mark, or they just don't sell it at all. And then they just change their life around it.
Yeah, and that's why we feel like agents, if you're not in the investing world, you kind of got to come here and understand it, because what I noticed, like if it's worth $500,000 and it's an outdated house, whatever, they'll just discount it by like $50,000, $100,000. If you come in and do $50,000, it will be worth $5,000. No, we don't work like that.
And you know what? Also, and this goes back. God, I sound like such a fanboy. On your Halloween episode, one of you were mentioning concessions and how no one even knew concessions existed a while ago. And you said 47%, 59%.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I heard that, I went back and looked at my list, and over the past 2 weeks, all but one had concessions. Literally every single one that I've done but one. And the one that I sold was an REO, an actual bank-owned property in Waddell. They it went under. The bank just said, I don't care. They're not giving the free months like they used to. In 2008, they let people go for a year and a half without making payments because they were hoping that they weren't going to lose as much as what the numbers said, and they lost way more. Today, they don't care. They're like, you didn't make your payment? We'll give you a second try in 2 weeks. You're not going to do it? out.
Yep.
We need to get our money back now while the values are where we're at. And this one I did was the only one that didn't have a concession. So for me, it's almost in theory 100% have concessions. New builds, just people in general. And the thing is, if you want to go over, or you're a hard liner, and I'm like, we need 500,000 in your orders, all the offers are 480. They'll say come at 500, but we'll replace everything. New AC, all of this stuff. You want the pool redone? We'll redo that, and yada yada. So the concessions are substantial, which FHA takes very seriously.
Talking about new builders.
I'm talking about literally anybody. New builds though are the.
Yeah.
I always tell people this, and I feel bad. One of my favorite clients, and I'm going to throw them under the bus here, not for the wrong reasons, is I like doing work with Lennar. Lennar is the country's biggest builder. They build all over, they build affordable, and they kind of build slightly outside of your area.
Right.
So if you're in Buckeye and you're like, okay, we're right here, they will build one street below because the land values are way cheaper, right? Guess what that gives them? A lot of wiggle room on their list prices. And Lennar doesn't care if they list it at 200 and sell at 150. They don't care. They're huge. Yeah. They just want to get these deals turned. It's volume only. So if you live in an area that's near new builds, those concessions eat away at your value. Because why would someone buy a 5 or an 8-year-old home and you're not willing to replace your countertops with all quartz when you could go 1 mile south and get a brand new home for less? New builds compete with existing homes. And if you're near them, everyone thinks it's a good thing. Today, it's a bad thing because lenders don't mind eating the bullet. They don't care. They don't care. They go by volume. We closed 500 things this month, you know, whatever their metrics are. If it's me selling my house, I'm worried about one house. They don't care. So it's a bad thing if you're in these areas.
Well, in our meetings, that's what we're always saying. Like if you're buy build to rents, if you're a landlord or new builds and you're buying a flip or something or a rental, you just got to take that into consideration right now because they'll beat us every day.
Because those builders, they're going to give you not only the concessions, they're going to work with you on the interest rate, everything that, do a buy down. So they're going to make it convenient for you to get into that home because they said, hey, I'd rather you buy this than that over there.
Yeah. For a little while, there was this secret that I posted about, and one of my friends who actually works at a new build was laughing about it because it's hyper accurate. It was, for a minute, people were afraid the market was going to just drop out. And it was early this, I think it was like February. It just did not look good. Everything was really bad. We were at the lowest we've had, the highest days on market in the history of Arizona. If you had a house under contract with almost any new builder, including Toll Brothers, and you went in a week before closing and said, I want to leave, they would give you an extra 50 grand. It was just free cash. Just, we'll wipe that right off of your thing. Or we'll give you the next level of upgrade. Did you want Frigidaire? Did you want Wolf and Sub-Zero? We'll swap out the ones we already did as long as you continue buying. So I did one the other day that was an update appraisal, and the value went down $17,000 since August. So, I mean, it's one of those things, the exact same house I had to do twice on a new build because the buyer failed on one of their qualifications. Same exact house. I just did it yesterday, literally yesterday, and it went down 17 grand because of their own problem. Lennar kept on discounting their houses, and their value just in August was lower because of their own thing. They are offering too many discounts. I had to lower the value.
They were killing their own.
They killed their own value by 17 grand. I mean, kid, have you ever seen such a just a cannibalistic? I don't know. It's weird.
So for investors, where we like to have rentals and cash flow and stuff, so numbers haven't been penciling out.
Right.
So I've been pushing the whole new build game. We have some members who went out, like Santan Valley, bought a brand new house, 3.9%, 330,000 purchase. I was like, that's amazing. So what are your suggestions to an investor on the out? Because in the other part of the outskirts is the rental demand at times.
It's much more limited. And if you're looking at short-term rentals, it's the worst possible area.
Yeah, no short terms.
0%. So I love that you said that. I'm licensed in Texas as well, and I used to do Lennar appraisals. I'm a big fan of them. I keep throwing them under the bus, but I'm a huge fan of everything that they do. But I would do these ones remotely. And for some reason, San Antonio, Texas, a big military town, so a lot of bases over there. Almost 80% of the new builds I did were immediately with a rental survey because there's not owner occupied, because they did exactly what you said. You find these new builds which do have discounts and they do have the ability to negotiate. And if you are hardcore at what you're doing, you can get them to go below that price offer because the real estate agents that work those front offices don't care.
Right.
They don't really have a horse in the race because they just want to get those deals closed. And that's no slight on them.
Yeah.
That's their business model.
Mhm.
So if you're looking at a new build, you have more wiggle room in a new build than I think you do on a resale, just because there's almost no personality involved.
Yeah.
There's too much emotion. If I was going to sell my house, if you were going to sell yours, you're going to be like, dude, I'm not going to go for lower than this. This
Mhm.
right here, I did alone cost this.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though common sense tells you not to, with a new build, they don't care. They don't
true.
see
Even
that.
the agent in these deals with the family,
Yes.
they're
Yeah.
doing everything they
This is-
can.
Because it's impossible
Yeah.
to distance yourself 100%. You can't, realtors have to try to remove all personality from it and just be robots. That is literally the exact opposite. You can't do it because when you start a relationship with a client, it's because I like you.
Like you.
Because I
Yep.
trust you. I know you can do it. You know this area. I feel like we had a good conversation.
True.
New builds, it doesn't care. It's a
Yeah.
machine. So if you're
I wanna
looking,
go out to look at some new
Yeah,
builds.
they just-
Yeah,
just
no
got
joke.
Pumped up
Yeah.
over here.
you want to look at some new builds where you can make some
Verado, he just said.
Yeah.
Dude, Verado has some weird sections over there. Yeah, go check out
Wow.
Verado. The lower section closer to 10, right over, I think it's called the Highlands. I can't remember what the name of that is called. You have wiggle room. They
Wow.
cannot close a deal right now because people are losing. They're
So-
just leaving.
So are you seeing, like, we're big on DSCR loans. So like, can you go in and use investment loan products to buy their houses? Or actually, no, they offer their own loans.
Yeah.
They do offer their
Will
own
they do
loans.
investor loans? Or
They do.
Okay.
It is rare though. And the
Okay.
only reason I say rare isn't because of their policy. It's because of the same thing I'm saying. If you tell them, no, I'm going with this other lender, the first thing they're going to do is sales most person 101. What's your rate going to be over there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
5? Stay with us. We can get you 4.6. We can
Yeah.
get you 4.2. You know, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Just do the math. Monthly, we're going to save you $115 a month just to buy with us. It makes it very difficult to say no.
Right.
Who just passes up $100 a month? You know, today people are scraping by. Yeah.
Okay, I could talk like this all day, but I do want to get some information.
Yeah, my
in.
bad. I'm chatting.
Come on.
No, not at all,
you're
man.
Good, Steve.
Because we have time limits. So comping properties, right? Like one thing we teach when you first come to AZREIA, it's like, if there's one skill you must have, it's knowing the value of a property, because that bases your offer, your everything.
Mhm.
And if you don't have, like, that's one skill you don't pass on, right? Because you're
Agreed.
cutting the check at the end of the day, full responsibility. So you had a lot of good points before the show about comping properties. We have our traditional, hey, within a mile, within 6 months. Can you just break down how to comp a property, or
Well,
whatever you want to say?
If you
Pretty
guys have
good.
ever seen me on Instagram, you know that I don't just break it down, I smash it, because
Right, let's do
I
it.
refuse. I say the quiet part of this industry out loud, even though the people in this industry don't like it, because it's true. My biggest pet peeve in the appraisal industry is the word I can't.
Okay.
I hear this from realtors all the time. I have an appraiser that says I can't go outside of a mile. I sent in comps and he told me I can't go past 6 months and yada, yada, yada. All of that is such garbage. It makes my skin crawl, because with appraisers, we don't have an I can't. Do you want to use a comp in New Mexico? Sure, you can. You better have some support to say why, but you can do anything. So when I go to comping classes, and I have done them, I work with this group called Atlas Real Estate, and I did one online with them with 70 people, and I got a question, and I'm not technically supposed to do it, because if I were to pull comps for you, technically what I just did was an appraisal, right? So I took this one off. It's one of those really weird bylines where they try to get us in trouble. If I gave you like, oh, here's 7 comps, in theory, I just gave you an appraisal. So what I did was, this guy came in and he said, I have a really tough one, and I need you to help me comp this in front of 70 people. It's backing a busy street. And I'm like, you know what? Let's crack the knuckles. I'm going to share screen you and I'm going to bring up comps. I nailed this value in about 7 minutes, and I showed him how to do it. You have to know what you can and can't do. And most realtors have no idea, because they're told that you can't go past 6 months. You can't go past a mile. You can't go over an acre. You can't go under an acre.
Can't
all
cross a busy street.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's that's literally my number 2 pet peeve.
Okay.
My number 1 is price per square foot. That needs to go away. And I have
Yeah,
done
yeah.
classes and classes and posts and posts. So we're going to skip by that, because price per square foot is idiotic. What you just said is a huge one. And if you know how to really know your market, you shouldn't have to worry about crossing a major street. You just have to know you can't cross a major street into that gated neighborhood. You
right,
can't
right,
use those
exactly.
comps. That's a better development.
Yep.
You have to have geographical competence in this area. So that's a huge factor. So as long as the realtor knows geographical competence, the appraiser kind of has to abide by that. Because I'm going to tell you another thing that appraisers always say is that they're the experts on your area. Realtors are the expert on the area.
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys know who bought this house and was it stressed or was it not? Or so many times I'm like, hey, your house was listed lower. How come? And it'll be like, it's because the plumbing is gone. It's because they refuse or you guys know more than what we know. So I hate that statement because it's so not true. The realtors are the ones that we should be using you guys as a tool. And that's why I spend a lot of time calling and figuring out. Usually my text threads are just, hey, I got a question. And realtors are always up to answering it. They always want to talk about this. It helps them. So that's a big one, is just knowing your market. You can cross streets.
That's true. Cause it's an unset value range. Cause like if you cross the street, it's a wholly different type of neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's less desirable.
Absolutely.
You're going to see that in the value ultimately, right?
Oh my
Your
God.
agent's going to know that.
There are some secret areas. They're not secrets. Central Phoenix. If you go just past Peoria, totally different market. About 170% difference, right? It's just if you go down there. If you go from Litchfield Park to Goodyear, you have another big problem. If you go from Peoria to Phoenix, if you go from Anthem to Phoenix, there's so many market areas that you have to know the difference when you're selecting your comps. That's the big one. So if you, as the realtor, know your area, the number one thing I say is how to prepare a comp package for an appraiser, because it's the one thing that I hear so many times people say, oh, the appraiser wouldn't or can't, and I have to blow that up again. Appraisers can take anything. You can send me 900 comps. You can send me a square footage floor plan. You can send me a list of upgrades with the dollar amounts. You can send us anything. If you ever have an appraiser, and I say this in my course, it's an unpopular opinion in my industry. If you get a phone call as a realtor from an appraiser saying, I want to schedule this inspection, because that's usually the first engagement, is from me reaching out to you to schedule. If you as a realtor get that phone call, you should by this point already have an appraisal packet. I teach a class on how to do it. It doesn't take long. You need to have comps that support where you came up with the idea. And if you came up with your list price and there's no support, then you're going to be disappointed, and so is your client. You need to have some information. If I call up to schedule and I say, hey, I'm Steven, I'm here to call, schedule your appraisal. Can we do it on this date? Blah, blah, blah. As a realtor, the first thing you should say is, I have a comp list. Can I send that to you? And what I hear the most is, oh, we don't accept comps. Here's a straight up, I'm telling you it's a fact.
Yeah, because they say, appraisers say, I don't want to be biased by
You bet your ass.
Submit.
That. If you get an appraiser that says that, you need to raise the red flag immediately. That is a bad sign for multiple reasons. Number one, the appraiser is lying to you. And I hate to say that we do it, but if they ever say that, which happens a lot, they're lying. We can take your information. Chase Bank at one time said we cannot take comps. Then they got sued and they said, okay, we can take comps because it's the same as using MLS.
Right.
It's the same thing as using MLS. We pull data. So now, thank God they flipped that over and now they allow it. But before that, it was just anything you give me is just market analysis. And for me to say no to your data means that I'm biasing my appraisal. I'm supposed to be taking in as much data as possible to come up with the right answer. So if you get a call from an appraiser and you say, can I send you the comp package? And if that appraiser says we don't accept it, you need to say something either right then and there to that appraiser, or you need to reach out to that lender and say, this appraiser is breaking USPAP and they're not taking additional information.
That was my question.
You need to tell somebody something.
So let me stop right there for a quick second, because as investors, and we're doing fix and flip loans and everything like that, and we're using hard money, that hard money appraiser will contact that investor and say, hey, I want to get over and I want to schedule the appraisal.
Right.
So as the investor, you got to put on kind of like that realtor hat and say, here's some comps that I pulled. Here's the area, so and so and so. Okay, great.
Do you want to know what the really good comp package looks like? And I've said this on my class before. I have a friend, her name is Kelsey. She sells in Scottsdale. She is one of the better realtors I've ever met. And she goes over and beyond. I'm going to have to send her this afterwards because she'll laugh because I'm throwing her under the bus, but in a good way. She prints out this color packet.
You got to be the best guy that throws people under the
bus. And I've thrown Kelsey under the bus for this 1,000 times because she overdoes it. She's laminated color copies and she leaves them at the thing. And I'm like, no, here's what you need. First of all, the appraiser needs to have that comp package before they go to the inspection. Here's the reason why. If the appraiser goes to your house to do the inspection, let alone if it's an FHA, if it's a regular conventional mortgage, we've already done most of the analysis. We've already pulled comps. We've already seen it. If we get to the house, and then one of the more common things, it's not as common anymore, is we go to a vacant house and what's on the thing is a comp list. Most of our research has been done. We're not going to go back home, find those comps, redrive those photos, half because we don't want to, which is a good point, but also half is because it would have been helpful 2 days ago when we called the schedule. Have that ready when the appraiser reaches out. That way you can't deny that we got your comps. The worst thing that we get is we do a value, we're done, and then they don't like it and they send us a list of comps. That's the worst for everybody because now we're spending time. We're not getting paid to do all of this. Exactly. Now we have to stop what we're doing, research this again, but it's not helping anybody. Have that ready up front. And I don't need a laminate copy. You want to know what appraisers really, really want? The one-page list from MLS in a PDF. This is all you guys need to keep in your file. So if you're doing 123 Main Street, it's a 1,200 square foot house in Maryville, and you see these comps on MLS, go to the left and click print, click the list button. Don't do detail because we don't need that. We need an address and an MLS number. Click the list button, click print as a PDF, put it in a file on your PC that's under 123 Main Street. And when that appraiser calls, just say, I have my comp package. We don't need an elaborate comp package because we see the same data as you guys. Right. But if you have a one page, just one simple page with addresses and MLS numbers, we appraisers have to acknowledge that we got it. We can't just ignore it. It goes in our work file, but also the odds of us using those comps is way higher up front. So send it to us up front because that's where you're going to get most traction on your comp list.
What about like just notes, like how we're saying, like they understand the neighborhood better than most?
Say that.
We accept like, hey, this neighborhood, if you go over, okay.
100%. As a matter of fact, those are my favorite ones are saying, if you go across the street to this neighborhood, the price per square footage is significantly lower. You know, watch out for comps over here. I had read those before and because I'm kind of a dick. I look over and then I do it. And then I look over their comps. I'm like, damn, you're right.
Right.
Something about that neighborhood. They just sell with less amenities, you know, whatever. So don't go from here because it's not a good valuation tool. So if you say that up front, that's great. But again, it goes back to my point. If you do that and they say we can't take it, you need to tell somebody because they can, they should. And if they say that they can't, you need a new appraiser or else you're going to get problems.
And that's the crazy thing about it because I'm from one of my experiences, you know, I had one appraiser to go out and I was like, nah, you're about $100,000 light on this appraisal, you know, and scheduled a second appraiser to come out, you know, and which I didn't want to do it, but I'm like, dude, you're just too light, you know, and that second appraiser came closer to where I was at, you know, and I challenged that first appraiser. It's like, look, this is, you know, and it caused a little bit of rift, but I like what you're saying about having that comp package prior to sending that to them. Because a lot of appraisers, and I'm just going to say a lot, I'm generalizing, but a lot of them say, yeah, we can't use that because I don't want to be biased in my decision on what the value is.
Today, the biggest word in appraisal is bias. It started a few years ago. I teach a class about this. There is a list that grows every month provided by Fannie Mae of words you can't even use in an appraisal report or you get flagged for bias. And that's terrible. So the last thing an appraiser wants to do today is to have anything that's considered biased. But taking your comp data isn't biased, it's absorbing more information. Making a bad decision based on that information, that's where the bias comes in. So appraisers have to take that information, and if they say they don't, that's actually showing a little bit of bias. They're showing bias that their information is better than what you're providing, even though you may be providing what they already have. So it's one of those things where if you get an appraiser that says they can't, and if they use that word can't, have the red flag up. Either flag it to somebody or just know, I hate to say this, that this guy's going to be a problem. Or girl, that this situation might end up coming in undervalued because anyone that says that usually likes to skimp.
Because I had, sorry, Mike.
No. I was going to switch.
I had a hard money lender that I was working with and they asked me flat out, they was like, okay, well, what do you think the value is on this property?
Oof, yeah.
You know, and I was the lender and I said, hey, you know what, I'm looking at, you know, anywhere between 385 to 410. That's the range that I'm seeing, and here's the reason why I see that range. Then they scheduled the appraiser to come out, and the appraiser was right within there, and he gave me kudos. He was like, you know what, you definitely hit it right on the mark. And there was some higher comps that I could have dropped in there to kind of skew the numbers. And he was like, I thought you was gonna kind of skew the numbers to your favor, but you know, so that goes back to what you were saying about provide that package, you know, to the lender.
Yeah, and the main reason is, I have been a witness on too many appraisal assignments doing your exact scenario. And I have been an appraisal reviewer. And in my last job, I was almost tasked exclusively to review a very famous appraiser. That's all I'll say is he's very famous. And if you Google it, you'll get one guy. And this guy botched every single report he ever did. So my company said, you need to review this one person's work because we see a lot of holes. Appraiser work, when you have two different appraisals, will never be the same dollar amount. It's an opinion of value based on different data and different opinions of their history in this area. You can get data from pool A and data from pool B that do what you said and gives you a range of values. Kelley Blue Book does it like that. They say, here's a fair range between 350 and 400. If you're over 4, it's 5. If you're under, it's low. I kind of like that model because real estate is very emotional. Someone comes in and is smitten with the color of your pool, they're going to spend more money than they would have because they love your backyard or they really loved how weird your kitchen floor plan was, right? So if you get data, they shouldn't be that much different. Where they draw that line is where the difference comes in. So always know, and it's not because one appraiser's an ass and the other one's not. It's just from their history and what data says. And if they had one that just couldn't sell, or if one spoke to a realtor that goes, dude, nothing is closing in this area, they're going to have a little more cautious angle to it. Getting to appraisals is expensive.
Yeah.
It's confusing, but it does give a bracketed approach on what your range should be, which is why I'm a big fan of if you're a realtor and you're listing a property, and your homeowner says, oh, I need to sell it for 500. And if you click on Redfin or Zillow and you see 470, the first thing you should be doing is hiring an appraiser to do a $250 desktop appraisal. That's what they typically are. We don't leave the house. If the pictures are on MLS, we can do a pretty damn good job of saying where your value is going to be. That's an ammunition to the realtor can go to the homeowner and say, you said 500. I have a feeling we're never going to sell. I had an appraisal done with your permission, blah, 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 blah. And this said this number. Appraisals are all over the place because things change. If you did one on Monday and then the next appraiser's on the next Monday, you said it in your show, how numbers can flip-flop from a buyer's market to a seller's market in literally hours.
What show was that?
Your show, the Halloween episode.
That's missing, man.
Not the one with the genius, who I am not, but I really like that one. No. It's just how fragile the market is.
Question, so I have two. So first one is on the desktop. So as an investor, if you offer that service, like we're buying the property in disrepair, junker, we're going to say, hey, we're going to make it look like these properties. Are you still comfortable giving that ARV?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Here's the thing though, if there are photos, if there's no photos and the last listing was from 2015, the odds of us doing it well are slim to none because we have no idea what the condition is going to be. But that's how hybrid and desktop appraisals work, is if there's photos for us, we can do a pretty good job of analyzing what is going on in that house and what's going on in the area around it. So as long as there are photos, whether provided by you or from an active MLS listing, you're going to get a pretty decent valuation for that. There's a lot of companies that do desktop appraisals today. I would say any successful real estate shop does desktop appraisals. So you could either call me in the Valley or just Google it. Just find someone or ask your trusted appraiser, hey, do you do desktops? I need a pre-listing appraisal. That's it. A pre-listing or desktop. That's what it is. They don't have to come and sketch it. It's more affordable. But then at least you have one other thing. You have ammo. Because if your first appraiser came in super low, you thought he was 100K skimpy, right? What if you had this desktop and said, hey, this desktop appraisal came in 50 grand higher. Here are the comps they use. Why are you not coming in higher? Telling you as an appraiser, the worst thing in the world is hearing the words, another appraiser did this. That's like our kryptonite, because all of a sudden then we sit up straight. We're like, all right, well, let's challenge. Let's support the hell out of what I just did, because now we know that someone else in our same scope is going to tear apart our work, and that's bad. So always use that. It's a tool. Always say, another appraiser recently said this. And if you have a desktop appraisal, it's over, because that guy can't ignore that. You just can't. You can't send them and say, here's the prior or here's the desktop we had done. What are we going to say? Don't give us comps? Don't support our adjustments?
Yeah, man.
Just do it. Give us more. The more, the better.
So, guys, a lot of gold nuggets in here.
Yeah,
a lot of gold nuggets.
So the next thing I wanted to go on is just in our world, a lot of people that teach real estate, they give you a list of saying, oh, if it has a pool, add 5,000.
Oh, you are about to get into my favorite topic.
Okay, today. All right. So yeah, when we always look for like close as possible is always the goal. However, it doesn't always work like that because not enough data. So what do we do when this one has a casita and this one has a pool and this one doesn't? And you get where I'm going.
So. Yeah. So I'll get into this quickly, because I'm going to talk for this forever, because again, this is another class I have.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to preface this with some bad news. Today, pools and solar are getting less value on return than in the history of real estate. And it's for one reason, and I totally understand. We're too high. People are right now, if you're not an investor and you're just coming in to buy your first home or your second home or whatever, when you used to have some wiggle room to shop, you don't. Today, you are maxed out at a dollar amount with the mortgage that you can afford. So when you see the house next door is listed 20 grand higher with a pool, you don't have the physical ability to inherit that pool and that monthly cost. Guess what? Solar has a monthly cost too. Everyone says it's just a saver. My very unfiltered opinion, solar is the biggest sucker bet in the history of real estate.
Yeah, my wife's big on she
No
hates
one,
solar.
no one wins in solar except for the solar company. They're the only person that wins. Sellers don't, buyers don't. It's a suckhole. But anyway, the point is, amenities, pool, solar, backing a golf course, backing this, or remodeled anything, give you less today than in the history of real estate because of the fact that our housing values are so high. People aren't trying to buy their dream home. They're trying to buy a home. Just the home, just a home.
Is it fair to say, except for Scottsdale?
I mean, it is and Queen Creek and PV, these ones is true. But in those areas, they still bring in less than they have in the history of the world. Real quick on solar, because I could do this all day. Solar is a sucker bet because it's tech heavy. Do you remember what Pulte started building homes with solar in 2007? Do you remember what they look like?
Mm-mm.
They're about 1.5 feet off of the roof. They had to have these metal bars on the side so that the solar agents could come in and work on wiring. What did the homeowner immediately have to do? Install netting on the side because birds were coming in and doing it, right? Have you seen what Toll Brothers and the high-end builders are selling solar panels today? They look like tiles. They're recessed. They're built into your roof. You wouldn't know the difference.
Oh, wow.
Solar is tech. Solar's like buying an iPhone. If you bought an iPhone 12, you're not going to say that it's still worth that $800 today because iPhone 17 is significantly better. Battery yields are way limited. Solar panels take in less power than they did 5 years ago. There's the maintenance fee on solar. So when you own solar and it cost you 70 grand to buy that solar system out, if you're expecting to get anything over 20% of that, you're out of your mind.
Wow.
No one cares because they know that in 5 years, the maintenance cost and shutting the solar down.
Wow.
You literally, my next door neighbor shut their solar down because it wasn't yielding enough power and the maintenance costs were higher than having electricity. And they bought that home in 2008. So that house has a decommissioned solar system. The brackets are still on the roof and the panels on the side, but there's no power because it was too much. Pools are another thing. They have maintenance. Some of the areas, Maryvale, Peoria, El Mirage, values are negative if you have a pool. You can track it by data because half of the times people have to fill those pools. Safety standards, you have to keep your fences up there. You have to do this. Maintenance is a nightmare. People can't afford all of this other crap, right? So that's the thing. Any amenity today is worth less than it was before. In 90% of the homes, Scottsdale, PV, these areas where the money isn't a problem, they're still there. But they are limited because they still take in massive amounts of data. And still that data shows that solar is a tech and it does expire and it does need maintenance.
And it makes your point. Yeah, people are just trying to get a home.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
it.
a pool and a solar going negative makes so much sense.
Yeah, getting a home.
Wow.
It's not the home, it's just a home. They're happy to land anything today that their mortgage will allow, their pre-approval. So the idea of going above and beyond for the remodel property, the one with the pool or the one backing the golf course, those values are plummeting. You can track it on our computer systems. The value for pools is so small. Sometimes the data just shows it's a negative adjustment. That's a weird thing we have to sell to the lender. Like, yeah, it has a pool, but no one in this area wants a pool. Here are 3 that have sold in the neighborhood in the past 2 years that have had their pools filled in. You have to support this, but it's true. It's happening everywhere.
I just got a pool put in.
Did you? Yes.
I'm in Queen Creek.
Okay, yeah, I heard that other stuff right up. The newly acquired Queen Creek.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Santan Valley. That's what
Santan
it is. Yeah,
Valley,
sorry.
yeah.
Anyway, my bad.
All right.
Yeah, you do listen to the show.
I do. I told you, I'm a big fan. I really like this.
We did go over our time.
Oh,
Hey,
dude, I knew it was going to happen.
It was well worth it.
It's all good. No, we were actually ahead of schedule for the day. So,
Yeah.
All right, man. So we'd love to, like I said, pass an invite to maybe teach a class here or something. And,
Anytime. Come back,
well-
teach class. I like to talk this stupid industry too much, and it's a lot of fun for me.
No,
So I have
it's
more fun
important.
talking about it than doing it, obviously. So if you guys ever need anything, I'm your guy.
So can investors reach out to you and get a
Absolutely.
desktop dog?
Absolutely. That's, I would say, and it's not even just me. I'm not even going to sell myself. If you have an appraiser that you've worked with before that you like, right? A lot of people have ones that are on their blacklist. Do not use this appraiser. They came in too skimpy before, whatever.
Mhm.
If you have an appraiser you like, just reach out and say, hey, you scheduled one with me last month. I have a listing coming up. Would you do a desktop? It's that simple. Say it's a pre-listing. I just need a desktop. And they will give you what is a highly educated, like a BPO. Very highly educated with adjustments and support. But like I said, it's almost impossible for an appraiser to ignore that. If you did it, I would say, yeah, okay, those are 3 comps and a value. I should probably not vary from that too much, or else someone's going to send me to the board. You know, it's a true factor.
I have more questions, actually.
Come
I'm
on,
a little
let's go.
selfish.
Yeah.
Do it. I did for all of your time.
Fine.
There's got to be came my head. One, I definitely want to know the value and what Casitas, but now going into
I skipped over Casitas. I went with pools and
or
so
even more or less going towards ADUs now.
Oh, it's one of my
Yeah.
favorites. Another
So,
class I
yeah.
have.
Okay.
I can do this in under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
ADUs and Casitas are a controversial topic. And as of February 18th, oh my God, is it 2020? We now have to measure houses by ANSI standards, ANSI. Google that later. And then any realtor that wants to know what we can and can't do, it's right there. ANSI means that every appraiser has to measure homes and calculate the square footage the exact same way. Because for the longest time, people were rounding to the half foot, rounding to the nearest foot, including this because it looks similar. It was like Thunderdome. And we finally had to rein it in. So ANSI stepped in and came up with the standard valuation model. Here's what I want to say about that is I teach this class because it frustrates people. Arcadia has a lot of Casitas, Chandler, Phoenix does. Not as much when you get to like Surprise and Glendale and Goodyear. They're out there. If you have a Casita, it will not and cannot by law be attached to your square footage of your home. If you are listing a 2,000 square foot home, 1,200 square foot of it is the home and 800 square foot is a Casita, you could lose your license as a realtor because you're misleading. You need to separate that out correctly. You need to say 1,200 square foot main house, 800 square foot Casita detached, attached, whatever you say, separating that out. I've been a witness on 2 that have gone to the state, and one of the realtors lost their license because they were using price per square foot and they were including a Casita. You can't do that. It's not price per square foot.
So how's the value added to a Casita?
I will say this. It depends on the market. It depends on the market. That's an easy appraiser answer. A Casita in PV is going to matter significantly different than a Casita in Litchfield Park. A massive difference. But I will tell you this is almost a fact. It's less than the main square footage of the house. So if you're adjusting at $200 a square foot on the appraisal, don't expect it to be dollar for dollar on a Casita. For multiple reasons, different marketability. Not everybody wants a Casita, so it's already less than. Insurance companies don't like insuring them. It's a little bit, so it's less than. There's a lot of these subcontext that comes into play with Casitas and ADUs, but a solid way of comparison is if you have a house that you're listing with an ADU and you're coming up with comps, one better have an ADU because we are not allowed by any lender policy to send in an appraisal with an ADU without a comp that has an ADU. You just can't. They need to see that there is a demand and marketability for an ADU in this area. And if for some reason you can't find one, and I had to use one from 2015, that comp will not be on the grid, but it'll still be in my commentary. I'll say based on time adjustments and what was happening in 2015, Casitas were worth about 30%, yada, yada, yada. So it is a thing. A common rule of thumb is just know that it's not going to be dollar for dollar as the main home. But in your analysis, when you are listing that home, do not include it in overall square footage. You're going to be up for a real hard awakening, the homeowner and you. And in your analysis, make sure you use a comp that also has a Casita. We have to. That's the one I would say that no appraiser is sending in a file on a house with an ADU where all of the comps don't have ADUs. They just don't. It doesn't work. Underwriters don't take it. They send it back. They need something, just one comp on there that shows something similar. It can be dated. It can be distant. So that's what we'll do, but that's where that rule comes into play is we don't have to stay in a mile, but if we had to go 2 miles to get a Casita, we will. If we had to go 2 miles to find one on a golf course, we will. You know, that's what we have to do is to show like, doesn't matter about time, but in your pre-research as a realtor, have that information ready because you've got an ADU, don't lump it together.
So
Big mistake.
I like what you said about the 2015 ADU and you brought it to the point of, hey, this was about 30% of the, whatever you said the, I could see. So can you do that today? So if you have to go 2-3 miles out for a pool,
this is my
can you
favorite.
say a pool usually
Yes, I
Okay,
can.
okay.
Here's the, and
I like that.
I
Never
can
knew
do
that
this
was
real
one.
fast. It's a very simple like phrase that we have. It's easier to prove a time change than it is to prove a market difference. You can statistically prove what's happened in your neighborhood since 1985. You can prove that very easily. You type in Maryville 16, and since from 1985, you can see
Right.
this value trend. You can predict it. Maryville 16 versus Verrado, that's a way different thing to deal
Yeah.
with. It's easier to prove time than it is to prove a different market. So yes, we can definitely use data and information, which is why that's one of my pet peeves is, oh, we can't go past 6 months. Yeah, you can. As a matter of fact, there are multiple times where if you have a unique feature, I have to go back 2 years or 3 years. And while no one wants to see a 3-year-old sale on the grid, it will be in the addendum. I will say based on a 2015 analysis between 123 Main Street, which had a Casita, and 124 Main Street, which didn't. They were the same, and it ended up as this, adjusted for time, here's your support, and that works. So
Ooh,
Wow.
easier to prove time than it is to prove a market difference. So dated before distant is the thing that we usually say.
If
Wow.
someone wanted to call you or find you and have this conversation,
I will
would
chat
love
your
it.
ear off all freaking day. Instagram is my favorite because people reach out to me all the time. It's Yawkey Appraisals. You
Wanna
can
spell it?
Okay.
YAWKEY. If you type that in, I'll show up. I don't think there's any other Yawkey sites, and I'm out here. So there's
Nice.
that. And then if not, my number's on there. You can always text or email me. And I love to chat this industry. Most of the people I just help with for fun, like your wife. I love to solve these problems. So I'm your guy if you need a no
Wow.
BS filter. I'm
Wow.
your guy.
So, guys, you guys know exactly what to do. Reach out to Steven, get the information that you need, see the wealth of information. And if you want additional information like this, go to AZREIA.org. That's AZREIA.org. We'd love for you to become a member, be around the community. So,
Hell
Steven,
yeah.
thank you so much, man.
Dude, thank you
Great
guys for letting me
information.
come in. It's fun to talk with you guys. Great show.
information. Thank you so much, Steven.
Take care. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks for listening to the AZREIA Show with your hosts, Marcus Maloney and Mike Delprete. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found this information valuable, head over to AZREIA.org and learn more about our community.